Hello, welcome back to The Young Voter. The biggest item of news this week is, of course, the strikes, the airstrikes by U.S. and allied forces on Libya. Suffice it to say, Colonel Gaddafi must go, and U.S. ground troops must not be involved in this operation. However, I'm not going to digress and continue discussing this. I'm going to focus on a more important domestic piece of information. You may not know this, but Republican efforts to undermine the U.S. economy continue in full swing. The problem that the U.S. economy faces at the moment is not the deficit, it is job creation. It's stimulating job creation and spurring the private sector forward to create jobs, manufacture, produce services that will push the U.S. economy in a positive direction. It's the economy, stupid, and there is no worse way of shrinking an economic recovery and stifling it than by cutting government spending. Because government spending contributes to the overall economic picture. Government spending, especially in times of recession, is necessary to jumpstart the economy and to move it forward so that it can go into positive territory. That is, of course, basic economics. But our Republican friends do not understand economics. Contrary to what they might be telling you, they have absolutely no idea about Keynesian or any form of economics. They have no clue. Or if they do, they simply choose to ignore it because they would rather protect their rich friends who they refuse to tax. Every economist that has been interviewed has said you cannot solve the deficit without raising revenue, raising greater revenue than you already have. Because even if you got rid of the entire federal apparatus, if you got rid of the entire federal government, there still wouldn't be enough money saved to get rid of both the deficit and the staggering national debt. You need to raise taxes to do that. Taxes that are at a historically low rate for the most rich and wealthy. The most wealthy people in this country pay the lowest marginal tax rate in history. Under the Eisenhower administration, the marginal tax rate for those making over $1 million was 90%. The marginal tax rate under the Nixon administration at $1 million was 70%. Do you want to know what it is now? 15%, the effective tax rate for millionaires and billionaires, while the middle class's tax rate, the effective rate, is closer to 35-40%. So you go chew on that and tell me if that's fair. The unemployment rate at this point in time is 9%. 1/6 of the American workers are unemployed, and 5 people are searching for every one job. You need to stimulate job creation, and to do that, you spend. The government did its stimulus. Of course, it was only partially successful because it wasn't big enough. But it did jumpstart the economy. By getting rid of all these government programs, you're not just cutting the deficit by minuscule amounts, I should add, but you are stifling the growth of the private sector. Because the government does create jobs, and by spending, the government puts money into other people's hands that they spend. And then the multiplier effect affects that and sends a ripple through the economy, a positive ripple. By getting rid of government programs during a time of crisis or during a time when the economy is still fragile, does not create jobs, it kills jobs. But of course, Washington is deaf to the American people. Washington is deaf to the unemployed, and they refuse to understand that we need jobs in this country. We need jobs. We shouldn't be worrying about the deficit until we get out of this hole, until the economy is booming. Then, of course, you're going to not only raise more tax revenue because people are going to be making more money, but also it won't be as destructive when you cut government programs. So while Republicans keep trying to worsen the economy so that President Obama looks bad in 2012, Democrats have fallen prey to their games. And now they're talking about cutting the deficit as well, and they're ignoring the millions of people that are unemployed in this country. We cannot let this happen. We have to lobby Congress and make sure that job creation and not deficit reduction is the primary example, is the primary thing they are focused on. That is what, in poll after poll, the American people are most concerned about, and we have to make sure our politicians are most concerned about that as well. Thank you again for watching The Young Voter.